Hello and welcome to Marriage and Money, a conversational podcast about personal financial topics aimed at taking the money stress out of a marriage and turning the focus to enjoying life together. This is a weekly discussion brought to you by a seemingly financially incompatible couple bonded by the legal contract of marriage. My name is David, your favorite saver, and I'm joined today by the woman who pushes me to pull out my wallet more often, Heather.
That's right.
We have a great show planned for you today. Today we're going to be talking about gifts and gift spending. But first, I want to know what's going on with you, Heather.
Well, it was a pretty exciting week, not just for me, but for both of us.
True.
We celebrated our 13th anniversary. Dun, 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 dun.
It's exciting. I love our anniversary. It's
Yeah,
always so much fun.
I used to make us rewatch the wedding video every year. I thought that was a really good idea, but I have since changed my tune on that. So it's been a few years. We need to bust that back out.
I appreciate. I liked our wedding. I loved it. But let's be honest, weddings aren't the most exciting ceremony in the world to watch.
Ours was.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it because it cost enough. Just to stay on topic, the weddings are expensive, and that one especially. So
But I do love our anniversary every year because we started this tradition from the very beginning,
yeah, year
right?
one.
We talked to, I don't know when or how, it's been so many years, but we decided to figure out, okay, what are we going to do for our anniversary? And neither of us were really big into gifts or thought that was a little odd. And based on my experience with David, as you've learned a little
What
bit,
experience are you talking about?
he doesn't like to spend money on going out to dinner and having fancy dinners, which is something I absolutely love. So I got him to agree to once a year, I get to pick out the fanciest dinner that I can, the location. I get to order whatever I want, a cocktail, a glass of wine, dessert,
Oh
appetizer,
gosh,
you name it.
I'm cringing just thinking about it.
And that's the best part. He agrees not to make a single comment about the bill or the price or anything. I get one night of no comment, no concern, no eye rolls about having a fancy dinner once a year. You have no idea. I spend all year like planning where are we going to go
The
because
eye
it's my
rolls come
one
after.
chance a year. You're not allowed. So, yes.
But yes, and so this year it was a fantastic dinner. We did a wonderful. It was a cable car gondola style dinner, um, through the sky. It was amazing from one
Yeah.
island to another out here in Singapore.
It was definitely about the experience. The food was delicious too, but it was more about the ambiance, a little private cable car dinner, little romantic music, and a beautiful view, the sunset over the ocean.
It was
It was pretty outstanding.
it was excellent. But yeah, so we don't do gifts for our anniversary. We might give each other cards, but we go for this dinner, and certainly there's money spent on that dinner.
But we don't complain about it.
And we don't complain about it. We don't complain about it, but yeah. So I mean, but that's one way I think it's a good illustration, and I'm glad you brought that up because I think it's a good illustration of how we've managed to find a compromise specifically in the going out to eat area where you have something you can look forward to. And I know once a year isn't very often, but something you can look forward to, and you can say, well, there's a restaurant I really want to go to or an experience I really want to have, and I know when I'm going to be able to pull that card to get that experience. And so that way, and then I know also that that's not something that's going to happen every weekend. That's something that's going to be special. It's going to be something that is, yeah, a rare occasion.
Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe we need to celebrate more anniversaries and kind of follow this.
You already have your birthday. Your birthday is basically a
Oh,
whole
come
month.
on, come on.
So,
I think there's a few more anniversaries we could drum up. The
uh,
first time you
I
said hello to me.
yeah, yeah. If it was up to you, every day would
Okay.
be an anniversary.
Okay, I won't push my luck.
All right. So, uh, so yeah, we wanted to talk today about about spending money on gifts. And so I think it's really a great topic for this, because we have the anniversary. We talked about how there are there are other occasions for spending for gifts, but um, before we get too deep into that, I want to know, do you consider yourself a good gift giver? Do you enjoy, do you enjoy spending or receiving gifts more? Kind of a couple questions there, really.
Sure. Well, I think anybody who says that they don't enjoy getting a gift is lying. I'm just going to call it out. I mean, who doesn't enjoy getting a gift? Now, I will say that it does sometimes make you uncomfortable if you receive and you didn't give someone, or a lot
Yeah.
of people feel uncomfortable, but come on, it feels good to get a gift. But I do like giving gifts. I really do. I don't think I'm a good gift giver. Like, I have people in my life who are incredible and super thoughtful and come up with the most creative ideas, and they're not even like expensive. It's just, ooh, Heather, I thought of Heather. And I wish I was better at that, but it is not something that I am good at. I try.
No, that's me as well. And I'm not very good at giving gifts. Um, I, I'm not thoughtful in that way. Normally, like,
You are very
well,
thoughtful.
but like for you, I think about things that you say throughout the year. At least this is what I try to do. I try to think about things that you say throughout the year. Oh, it'd be nice if we had this. And then if I remember, I'll make a note of it. I'll put it on my Amazon wish list or something. And then, 6 months later, by then you've forgotten that you said that. And then I come off looking like, oh, I'm really thoughtful because you thought you wanted that and you weren't even sure that you told me that. I must just be really observant. Well, maybe I'm not quite as observant as I come across in those regards. Maybe I'm just pulling it off a wish list, but still, yeah. So that's what I try to do, but it doesn't always work out that way. And yeah, I enjoy receiving gifts, but I think it's changed for me over the years. Like when I was a kid, I really liked receiving gifts. Like, but I think it was when I was a kid, it was a big deal because I didn't have a job. I didn't have any way to go out and buy stuff for myself. So gifts, birthday, Christmas, that was the only way I got the things that I wanted. Now I can go out and buy things that I want. And so the gifts have, at least gifts to me, mean more now around the sentimental value than around the thing at this point. Whereas earlier in my life, it was all about, I really want this thing, and that's why I need a gift.
Yeah, for sure. It changes as you grow, right? When you're a kid, it's super exciting, it's super fun. You cannot have the resources, and then as you get older, it becomes more about, the meaning behind it, and thoughtfulness. I will say I did learn that from you about taking notes. So, it took me a few years, not as quick as David, but I did start like a Google Doc where I try to make note
Oh, I didn't
of
know this.
ideas. Yeah, but here's the problem is that David keeps an Amazon wish list, and so that's super helpful, really practical, but it's hard to come up with ideas that aren't on the Amazon wish list, which is where I try to do. It's like, did he say something, but he didn't put it
Oh,
on the wish list, and that's the sweet spot, but it's a challenge. It's a hard.
gotcha. Okay. Well, I
But
don't.
it's a good point out there for couples. Like if you're trying to think about gift ideas, just pay a little bit of attention. It doesn't take a lot of work. Just put a little note. Maybe if you're not a Google Doc person, you've got a little notebook. Just kind of try to jot some notes down the year through the year. You'll appreciate it when it comes to birthdays or
Right.
Christmas.
It's not that hard as long as it makes it really easy when it comes time for birthdays. Yeah. Awesome. So, um, about spending money on gifts then. So we give each other gifts for birthdays, Christmas, um,
Sometimes, and sometimes we don't.
sometimes. Okay, that's true.
Depends on the situation, what's going on in life.
What are the major occasions where couples give each other gifts?
Well, I think for couples, right? I think you've covered it, but obviously anniversary,
Valentine's Day,
Valentine's Day, yeah, birthdays. If they have children, Mother's Day, Father's Day, sometimes the other spouse will give the other
right?
person something in honor of those. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunities throughout the year.
Yeah. So to me, when I see, oh my gosh, there are all these occasions for gift giving, that's a big Amazon wish list, and that's a big budget that I need to save. In fact, I was reading recently that The average American, just on Christmas alone, the average American spends $1,000 on giving gifts. That's a ton of money.
Are you still with us? Is this conversation making you uncomfortable? I know this is a little out of the Savers arena here talking about spending. I just want to make sure you're doing okay.
I Yeah, so that's why I'm bringing this up, because $1,000 for Christmas, I don't spend personally, like I don't spend $1,000 for Christmas, but that's the average, right? And then and then you throw on all these other holidays, like that's the kind of thing that gives me a heart attack,
But
right?
it's not even just holidays, right? There's graduations,
Exactly.
there's weddings, there's baby showers, there's the coworker who you don't see that much but had a baby, or I mean it's not even just like your immediate family, it's these expectations, and $10 here or there adds up really quickly.
So if the average American spends $1,000 on Christmas alone, they could easily spend another thousand on all these other events throughout the year.
For sure, for
Maybe,
sure.
probably more. I don't know. I don't know what the numbers are. I didn't see a number for the rest of the year, but a lot of money. So, like, how do you like? What's the right way? Is that appropriate? Is that appropriate? What's the right way to get around that, or to deal with that, especially in the course of marriage? Because I think, like with our relationship, I know we've struggled a bit with how much do we spend on a gift for each other or for people outside, and I don't know, kind of what are your thoughts on different ways that to approach these gifts?
Well, there's a lot of ways. I mean, first it starts with communication, right? Again, you're going to hear this as we're going to hear like sound a broken record, right? But it's about planning and setting a budget and talking about it, right? So that's number one is having the conversation and talking about it. But there's lots of different ways, to give gifts, and there's lots of ranges of budgets, right, to do so.
Right, and I guess that's kind of where my head was at, is that there's a lot of different ways to do it, and so oftentimes we get stuck in these thoughts of I have to give everybody a gift. Well, maybe you don't. So like we had like some families, and like with your family, Heather, we've drawn names for Christmas, right? And so we're not buying everybody a gift. We're buying one person. Each person buys one person a gift rather than buying everyone.
And I think that's a fun way to do it because then you can really focus instead of stressing about buying for six people, you get to buy for one person and you can take the time to kind of really be thoughtful and pick out something and it has more meaning. And it's kind of fun to say, "Ooh, who got my name this year?" So
Right.
there's some other
Yeah,
benefits to
you can
it.
you can spend a little more time thinking about that one person. That's a really good point, rather than spreading your energy thin. Yeah, yeah. Well, and we've also done events where we haven't given presents at all, right? We've said no, we're gonna, instead of giving money to a gift, we're gonna pool some money, however much you want to throw in, and we'll give it to a charity.
And I think that's a great the thing I love about that is it gets back to again why? Why are we giving a gift? And when you step back and think, okay, do I need something? It's like, the point of this is to be generous and that's a great thing and we should have that opportunity, but maybe there's other people that you can support. And it's a great lesson for kids. I remember the year we did that, to see our nieces and nephews, they were small and be able to like really see that they could make a difference in supporting somebody else.
Exactly. And the other thing that I really like about that approach is that rather than saying so there's a lot of pressure. First of all, I'll say there's a lot of pressure sometimes in families where we say, "Oh, everybody has to spend $100 on their gift or whatever that number is, right? We got to spend a bunch of money." And that might be a small amount for some people in the family, and that might be a massive amount for other people. And when you say, let's give to a charity, everybody just, you don't even have to, you don't even have to tell anybody how much you're giving. We just say, instead of, instead of giving gifts, just go ahead and make a donation to this charity. And that's what we're doing as our gift. And nobody has to know. If you can only afford $5 because of your situation, or a dollar, well, okay. But at least then you're not bound to this contract of you got to spend $100 on the person or $50 on the, whatever it is, right?
Yeah. And I think also if you don't want to give money to a charity, you can go do something, like go
Yes,
volunteer as a family. Maybe you go serve food at a food shelter on one of the holidays or go pack meals or there's lots of opportunities that if you don't want to necessarily do the money thing, you can do the service. And it's a really, again, a great lesson to teach your kids because it's, again, going back to why are we doing gifts, right?
exactly. Yes, the why is critically important. Yeah, and then the other thing is, maybe you could just give gifts to the children in the family, like for Christmas, right? You don't need to do gifts to all the aunts and uncles and grandparents, and maybe that's not needed.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to what you said at the beginning, like when you were a kid, right?
Right.
Like you don't have when you're an adult, if you want something, let's be honest, we most of us just go out and get it. But like when you're a kid, you don't. So it is exciting more for them. So it's thinking about that. Plus, I feel like when you're an adult, sometimes it feels like you're just swapping $20 to
Oh
each
my
other.
gosh.
It's just like, here, let me give you this $20 thing and you give me it back. And it's kind of just like keep your money, right?
Exactly. So that's exactly what happened with my sister and I. So my sister and I, growing up, we would buy each other, like, we'd each buy each other a CD, and the CDs each cost $15, and we're like, okay, well, now we're swapping $15 back and forth between each other. And so, like, that doesn't seem right. I mean, yeah, there's some thought to it, but we were telling each other basically, you buy this for me and I'll buy this for you. So why not just give each other a card? And so that's like what we've ended up doing is we just exchange cards and say, okay, we're giving you cards. I know you're thinking about me. You know I'm thinking about you. And um,
But
yeah,
you guys don't just do cards, you do homemade,
we
which is
do
fun.
homemade cards. So there's the sentimentality piece again, right? Yeah, it's a and I think that's what I keep coming back to. It's about the spirit of it. And you talked about why are you doing this? And for me, at least for my sister and I, it was more about the reason we're doing this is to say, hey, I'm thinking about you, and I'm putting in the time to do something thoughtful here, to show that. And that's really what it's about, at least for us.
Yeah. I think another solution, if you don't want to give a tangible gift, is an experience. So, and those can range, right? You can spend a lot of money on experiences, going to the movies, going bowling, or you can pack a picnic lunch and go to the park or go to the beach and spend next to nothing. But that is going to be a memorable time and it's a gift of your time. So I think that's a good option.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So now I want to talk a little bit about how do you come up with that number? How do you come up
It's
with that?
always back to the numbers. You're not even the CPA.
Well, you see, this is the saver mentality. Again, I'm the saver, so I can't help it. I always think about the number. So how do I get to the number? And it, I I'm going to tell you what I think, and I want you to react. Okay? So
Oh gosh.
in my head, when I'm thinking about anything, I'm thinking about where does this fall on my budget priority list. So at the top of that list, I'm thinking I want to eat every day. I want I want a bed
In the
to
days
sleep
when you
in.
were really saving, though, you didn't always eat every day, did you? Just kidding.
That's true. I did not eat every meal. So that's a separate story, probably for a different episode. But yes, I cut back on things like food quite a bit at times in my life. But there are things that I kind of lost my train of thought. But
Sorry, priorities. You
priorities,
walk through what do you need to spend
talking
money on?
through, yeah, what do you need? Food, shelter. I will need to keep the electric bill paid, those types of things, and I see gifts falling somewhere towards the bottom of that, right? My savings goal, even I would put above, savings and retirement goals. I'd put above gifts, and then you get down to those gifts, and you're like, because you got to take care of your own home, in my opinion, and then you take care of your home and your future, and then you say, okay, what do I have left over? What's an appropriate gift budget based on what's left over? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. We had a episode where we talked about vacation, and it probably falls in kind of the same area. I don't know if I'd put gifts above or below. I mean,
Sure.
gift I would probably put above it because it's not about you; it's about doing things for others.
Yeah.
But again, that budget can range, right? We've given ideas on how you can spend little and lots. But yes, I agree. That's absolutely how you should go about it and where it should fall in the priority and when you think about the amount. I think it's hard to set to say this is the percentage or this is the
Oh
dollar
yeah,
amount because it's going to vary on, to your point, everybody's personal situation and what their monthly spending, and what their monthly income looks like, right?
exactly, exactly. I, I know we probably need to move on, but I do want to ask one more question if I could.
Sure.
What were what would you consider to be the best gift you've ever received,
Ooh.
or best gift you've given? Either one, whichever way you want to take it is fine.
So can I say what's the best gift I've gotten and then the best gift from you?
Oh gosh, okay.
So the best gift, and I don't know if it's the best gift. It was most memorable for me was Christmas of 1985. My sister and I opened our Christmas present, and it was a piece of paper, and we were like, "What is this?" We were super confused, but it was a plane ticket. Back in the day, you actually got paper plane tickets, and it was to Los Angeles to go see the Iowa Hawkeyes play in the Rose Bowl, play against UCLA. And so we were leaving like the next day on this surprise trip to go to California, go to Disneyland, go to the Rose Bowl parade. It was like amazing, big surprise. So that was pretty cool experience as a kid.
Wow.
How about you?
Well, so my favorite gift, the best gift I've received. So I also have. So this is a little weird. So um, I wouldn't necessarily say these things are the best things I've ever received. But again, about the sentimentality piece, I feel like these things are kind of high on the list. So I think a lot about. So my mom passed away like 3 years ago, and I think a lot about the last thing she gave me were these awesome LED lights for my doors in the DeLorean. And I think about that every time I open up the doors and the lights light up. I'm like, oh, that's the last thing I ever got from my mom. And then my dad gave me for my 25th birthday a shop vac. Now I know a shop vac isn't
Ooh,
very it's
sexy.
not sexy, it's not fun, it's an appliance, it's like not that interesting, but it was a big deal for my dad. And like he had never, at least I didn't remember him giving me something that was so expensive and nice, and I don't know. It was exciting. It was a big deal, and he made a big deal of it, and it was a surprise. And then I also remember like a shirt that I got from my grandmother for Christmas that I went to the store and I picked out with her, and then she gave it to me later that year for Christmas, and it was like, oh, that was like I see that shirt and I think of my grandma. So
Yeah, and
anyway,
again, it goes back to, why people are giving you, right?
right?
It's special to you because it came from them. So I just want to go back really quick to gifts you've given me because,
Okay,
as you can tell, this is a really hard thing for David. And so gifts from him are really special because I know it's a sacrifice. So, two things. One gift is he gave me diamond earrings one year. And I know, of course, everybody's like, well, yeah, diamond earrings. Of course, you'd love that, which, of course, I would. What woman doesn't want to get diamonds? But the thing was, it was from David. Like, I'm sure that was like one of the most expensive gifts. And
it
we
was,
hadn't been
yeah.
married very long, so this was not. We didn't even have a budget. We weren't talking about spending. This was a whole new thing. So the fact that he was doing this and willing to spend that type of money on me, like, blew me away because that's not in his nature. But on the other end, David is very creative and very romantic. And, he's given me gifts that have taken a lot of his time and creativity, but not a lot of money. So one year he gave me a journal where he had written down every day a reason why he loved me for a year every day. And some days there were some hard days in there,
There
but
were a
that's
couple. There
okay.
were a couple
It
hard
was
days. There were a couple days where I looked at that page and I was like, "How am I gonna spin this to be positive today?"
But every day there was something on a page, and that was like blew me away because it was something that took all year. It was intentional, it was consistent, and it was from the heart. And sure, it cost like $4 or whatever to get the journal, but like that was like probably the most special gift I've ever
Oh,
received.
thanks. Yeah, and I wish I
So
could take
again,
credit for that idea. It
I
wasn't
just
my
want
idea, but I do highly recommend it to anyone that wants to impress
to
their wife.
so before we run out, I know we're finishing this, but I just want to reiterate the point. Giving gifts is not a bad thing. Like, you
No.
should give gifts. It's okay to spend money on gifts. You just need to do it reasonably. You don't have to always spend a ton of money, as we all know, but it is about the reason and thinking about what you're doing. And so it's okay to spend in this area. Just do it responsibly.
Can I share my gift that I loved from you? Um,
Okay, this might be getting a little cheesy, but
oh
okay.
gosh. Okay. So no, so this is a very recent one. Um, but for my birthday, you made this wonderful video. Um,
Mm.
and it was a complete surprise. Like I didn't know she was doing it. Heather filmed all these scenes in secret. Um, it was her again. It was her with with the car. I feel like I talk about the DeLorean here in every episode.
It's my biggest competition,
Um,
let's be honest.
but but she filmed all these scenes with the car, and then she put together the slideshow, and she got the help of a good friend of ours, and to help put this together, and it took a lot of time and a lot of energy, and I don't know. I think that the thing that made it so special was that it was a lot of work. I know it was a ton of work to put this together, and that's what really made it special. So, yeah, you've done a lot of other things. That one stuck out probably because of its recency, but and because of how much time you put into it.
Aw. Okay, so moving to our discussion topic. So each week we want to give you a topic to continue the conversation at home with your significant other. So the topic obviously the question is related to the topic we've been on. So if you don't have a gift giving strategy or a plan as a couple, what is appropriate for you? And if there is something you're doing today, is there anything you want to change? So we've kind of already talked about us. So we're going to talk about what are some tips that we could give you to have this conversation and this dialogue with your significant other. So David, what are the top tips you would give in having this conversation?
Yeah. So as listeners go and they start to have these conversations with their spouse, I would say the two big things I would want to advise them of is first, don't start by telling the other person what's appropriate. You want to be opening up the dialogue. So don't tell them you you have to spend this much on our anniversary or on my birthday or whatever it is, because that shuts down conversation. Or you want to say you want to open the dialogue about with this purpose. So we talked earlier about what's the purpose of this gift giving. Well, I think it's really important that we give gifts because I want I want I want you to feel loved by me, and I want to feel loved, and these are the types of things that make me feel loved. That would be number one. Number two is to remind everyone that it's easy to gripe about things that have been done wrong, and try to avoid that. So we want our statements in these conversations to be constructive. So rather than saying you always give me appliances for my birthday, say something like my favorite gifts are sentimental gifts, or gifts that are more fun than practical. That type of a statement isn't saying that anything's been done wrong in the past, even if you think it has. There's no value into bringing up things that you think have been done wrong in the past. Instead, focus on what do you want in the future and go there. Because I think conversations about money and gifts, especially personal gifts like this, can be they're very personal, right? And people can take offense, and you want people to open up. You want your spouse to open up with you about it.
Great ideas. I can't believe this, but we're very similar again. We seriously did not talk about these answers, but the first thing I had is what I've been echoing and harping on this is again remembering why you're giving gifts, which you pretty much covered too. So don't get hung up on the dollars and forget about why you're giving these gifts. Sometimes you can be so focused on, oh man, we're spending this. It's like, why are you doing this? And also give grace if something comes up during the month that
Hmm.
was not planned, because it goes back to the spirit of it. So the gift should come from the heart. So if something comes up, if a friend is in the hospital or a friend's just having a hard time, or something comes up during the month and you want to give a gift and you have the money to do so, give your spouse a little grace if something like that happens.
I feel like that might be directed at me.
I don't know what you're talking about. And the second tip I had, a little bit more practical, is be creative. Like, get lots of ideas when you sit down to have this discussion. Just don't default to, okay, we're gonna buy a gift, or we're gonna give money, and it's gonna be these thresholds. Come up with ideas. Like, do the whiteboard or the sticky notes. We could do experiences. We could make gifts. And also when it comes to each other, like, don't just default to, okay, well, I got to buy you something. Maybe it's having an experience together, or surprising them, or something. Just let the creativity flow, and there's no bad ideas. Like, be open, like David said, be open to what your spouse has, what their suggestions are, and get creative in this area. Just don't defer to the normal, I'm going to run to Target and get you a $20 gift.
Yeah, creativity is important. I think creativity is easier said than done. I know I want to be creative every year, but I'll admit that I oftentimes get caught up in life, and then I look at the calendar and it's like, oh gosh, the birthday is next week. I don't have time to be
No,
creative.
no, I meant in the discussion with your
Oh,
spouse.
sorry.
That's what we were talking about. When you're having this discussion with your spouse and when you're
Yes.
going to build your plan, I agree. Like, yeah, creativity is hard, but there is a thing called the internet. I'm not sure if Google, it's Google.
I'll
If you
I'll
go
try to remember
there
that
and you can type
address.
it, you might come up. You don't even have to do the creativity yourself anymore. It's
That's a
just like there.
You're a genius. You're way ahead of me
I
on
know.
this. This is why I'm married to you. You're the ideal woman. I'll come to you the next time I'm struggling to come up with a gift for you. I'll ask you, how should I find a gift for you? And maybe you can point me at this Google or Gooks, or what was it called? Oh, all right. Yeah. So I think those are some excellent pointers for our listeners in having these conversations. So I wish you all the best of luck in those conversations, and hope that you're able to put together a clear plan in dealing with and planning for gift giving um, in your marriage and with your family and friends. So with that, I think we can close. So whether you're a spender or a saver, remember that your best financial life lies somewhere in the middle.